I thought, hey, Spanish is very similar to English and obviously to French. I'm just gonna watch Narcos and it's gonna be fine. And then I realized at about day 45, am I really gonna have conversations after like 90 days? My listening comprehension was really bad, and it was not because of the rhythm or anything. It was just a vocabulary thing. It's just I did not know the words. Primary goal is learning the vocabulary. I think that's really key. That's really a way to optimize your time and get fluent in a much, faster way.
Welcome back, my friends, people. We tried to have the best people on our channel, and Louis Telegrand, you are definitely one of best people. You fit that. And the reason I say that, because you're just now coming off of a 3-month Spanish learning challenge in which you achieved it. You achieved it. You did what the YouTube algorithm says is possible. How to learn a language in 90 days. It's like everybody's seen it. Not everybody puts in the work to do it. And so even though we've got a couple videos either out or coming out where we both obviously speak Spanish, so you guys can check those out, I just kind of wanted to get something that we didn't touch on, which is you've told us in those videos, and you guys can check them out, what to do. I want to know what you feel held you back. What would you avoid? Is there stuff out there that you just like, this is not helping? Did anything stick out to you or does stick out to you in modern language learning?
Right. I think there are two things specifically, and the first one is more of a mindset thing. I would say that, well, obviously I'm pretty happy with the level I was able to achieve in just 3 months, but this is not to say that it was easy in terms of, motivation. Because in my case, I'm doing this, like, to be honest, I don't have really any intrinsic motivation, like, hey, my girlfriend is Colombian or that kind of stuff, right? I'm doing it for YouTube for the most part and to prove to myself that, hey, I failed at this in school, but overall, it's mostly for YouTube. And so it was really hard to get myself to, put in the work every day just because you know, it's an external sort of motivation. And so I would say in general, this is something I've noticed with all my languages. You need to, well, it's much better if you have some sort of deep, reason within yourself of why you want to learn the language, because it takes so much time that it's just going to be so hard to get yourself to put in the work if you don't have some sort of, intrinsic reason for doing it. That's the first thing. The second thing would be, to be honest, I think up until I would say halfway point, let's say about the 45, I'm kind of ashamed to say, but I fell into a trap that, I've talked about that so much on my channel. So that's why I'm sort of hesitating to admit this here. But I thought, hey, Spanish is very similar to English and obviously to French. So, I'm just gonna watch Narcos and, read Asimil and it's gonna be fine. Just do a little bit of flashcards, but And then I realized at about day 45, I actually took a lesson on iTalki because I started, doubting myself, thinking, am I really gonna have conversations after like 90 days? And just to make sure, I took a 1 hour lesson on iTalki with a Colombian teacher who he didn't speak a word of English. And I thought, well, okay, I made some progress and it's good, but just my listening comprehension was really bad. And it was not because of the rhythm or anything. It was just a vocabulary thing, honestly. It's just that there are words, like I can hear them, and some of them I could guess because they're pretty similar, but a lot of them I just didn't know. It's just I did not know the words. And so I think that's a big trap, just relying on, I forgot what the exact term is, but, indirect ways of learning vocabulary, like actually studying vocabulary deliberately, whether it be through, flashcards or anything where the primary goal is learning the vocabulary. I think that's really key. That's really a way to optimize your time and get fluent in a much, faster way. So I think that's the biggest trap, nowadays.
It's a very good point. I try to make sure all of our students don't have too much of an obsession with words. However,
Sure.
you have to know, like you said, you decided to kind of focus. I mean, just to touch on what you did do, you focused on Narcos, you focused on Colombia, you focused on words that you'd be seeing, within this world. So you gave yourself a focus, and that, I'm so, uh, you know, I truly believe that that is the way for a beginner to get
Yeah,
off the ground, because you get some sort of confidence in this area, and that at least lets you communicate in this domain. And once you're there, you're happy. And now extending that out means that you have a good base, and then you can boom, 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 boom. And so while I don't use flashcards, I will
exactly.
have people highlight words. I will have them highlight the word specifically, and then I'll have them rotate them within stories, rotate them with their tutors. So there's an expectation between whether or not you're going to use flashcards or how you're going to learn these words. Is that
Right.
at the end of the day, you need to see these words over and over again, and then
Yeah.
see them in context over and over again. There's just no way around this. And so whatever way you do that, pretty much I'm fine with, as long as you put in the work. And as you can see, it will work no matter how you do it. Uh, but I just find it incredible that some people will avoid that work. They will say, I want to learn Spanish, and then they'll just, and everybody on this channel, because as I've
Yeah.
seen some of the comments say, I hate Duolingo that much. But the problem is that it's just a one size fits all. Lewis doesn't even care about football, but guess what? You're going to talk about football and soccer all day. Will, you don't care about ballet, but too bad. You're going to, I don't understand. So yeah. Anyway, so even though this is a short conversation, and I know you haven't chosen what you're going to do next entirely, do you have any other like tips that stick out for you? Did anything else stick out for you on in your method? You said you had 5 tools, and you had one in particular that we both kind of used.
Yeah.
What stands
Uh,
out to you the most?
yeah, honestly, so I think you're talking about the first activity, right? The rehearsed
Yeah.
speeches. I was
Yeah, you
really
can explain it
surprised because,
if you want to.
yeah, so rehearsed speeches, just to explain very quickly, it's an activity that I talked about in my interview with Professor Paul Nation. It simply consists in, writing down dialogues, short monologues at least, and obviously, you can use, artificial intelligence to help you make this, grammatically correct. And then you memorize the monologues. And obviously, they need to revolve around whatever you want to say in the language, which in my case was, you know, to introduce myself and talk about language learning, that kind of stuff. And this activity, I knew I used it in the past for other languages, but not as extensively as I did, now for this challenge. And I'm really surprised at, how efficient it is because as I talk to you, it's not like I was, reciting everything, but I used a lot of parts, a lot of stuff
Mm.
I just reused, and it sounds like I'm saying everything correctly. It sounds like, man, this guy in 3 months, he just gets the whole like Spanish, grammar dictionary or whatever. But it's just because I know these phrases, I just reuse them, and also the fact that it's hyper targeted, right? And I think to you talked about this like learning words and learning stuff around a theme. It's so important. I think this is something that really, in this challenge, it really taught me the importance of you need to be hyper focused on, what are you going to do with the language in the first place, at least. In the long term, you need to have a wider, base of knowledge. But being hyper targeted is such a, I don't want to say a hack, but you're just going to get better so much faster. I think the first time I heard about language islands, that was on your channel. It's one of the first
Okay.
videos I watched, perhaps, with you,
Yeah.
talking with people on the street, and then there was this language island thing. I was not aware of
Mhm.
this concept, and instantly when I heard about it, I was like, okay. So actual
Yes.
polyglots use this concept. And so yeah, for from now on, I think I'm gonna be much more hyper targeted in whatever language I learn because it's such a great way of approaching the language. It doesn't require more work, but the return on your time is so much higher. I mean, we're not even talking about, twice, we're talking about a, I don't know, 10x factor or something.
Yeah.
It's so
Yep,
great.
that's what's wild. And we have in our courses, of course, we have a 30-day program for people that are just into meta learning and also gets them a touch of
Right.
group classes and Spanish and French and stuff like this. But we have the tier above that, and you have the intense. And these people, you have a 45-day, 75-day, and 120. Now you're in our community, and it lasts, the whole entire thing lasts for a year, but it's like a sprint, kind of like what
Okay.
you did. Now, if you continue on with Spanish, that 90 days is going to bring back some incredible fruit for you. You would never have gotten to the level in 6 months later if you didn't put in that hard, concentrated, hyper focused work. And that's what we create for people also within Intense, but we do that for them. Right. And so we're
Right.
basically, like what you're saying, we bring the hack to them because, like you said, people are like, where am I kind of going? Like, it's kind of going to do this. No, focus. When has focus never not led towards,
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
better situation in your life? you know, so yeah, later on, clearly you're going to have to, expand your vocabulary if you try. If you're going to go live in Colombia, if you're going to go, work, whatever. Yes, of course. But if you're someone who's listening to this, Lewis is full proof that you can take, regardless of the fact that you are a native French speaker. That does not matter because it doesn't. You can't just snap your fingers. Oh, I speak. That's what a lot of people think too. Like you'll hear Italians in Spanish, which is very close, and they'll say, "Oh, I
Yeah.
speak Spanish," and then you listen to them, and they'll say "posso hablar," and they're mixing because they
Yeah.
understand each other, but that's not the language actually. So yeah, it's still it's to be commended. You still have to put in the work, no matter what. So real cool. Obviously, guys, you can check out Lewis's channel. We're gonna do also one in French. And what else do you speak? You speak English, now
Japanese.
Spanish, and French. You speak Japanese. That's not on my list right now, and you're not going to get me to
For
do a
now, but
challenge on that because I know what sort of commitment I need to make to learn that.
oh god, yeah.
So, but okay, well, cool. Yeah, everybody, just definitely go check out the conversations we've had. We even did one a couple of years ago now. I think at this point,
Yeah.
that people can check out. And yeah, anything else? Anything? I know you got your products and stuff like that. We'll link to those. But is there anything anywhere else you want to send people?
I've done a full breakdown of the challenge with all the tools, the timeline, and so on. I'll just give you the link, or it's on my channel. You can just go to lewistallegrand.com, and there's an article about exactly what I did and what you can expect if you do it yourself.
That's awesome. Okay, we'll link to that. Maybe even break it down one day because I know we got a lot of Spanish learners on our channel. So, Lewis, thanks again, man. Really appreciate it. Always good, and looking forward to the next one.
Thanks so much.